Thanks for staying with us here on TVC Breakfast. It's now time to look at what the newspapers are reporting this morning. First with me is the Nation newspaper with the headline, Edun 10 trillion naira savings from subsidy removal for infrastructure. Others. World Bank urges government to push on with reforms. Ondo 2024, NNPP promises free education. Party lacks capacity to win, says APC. SDP candidate, nobody can rig election in our state. A campaign in full swing, Labour Party declares. Bandits got weapons from corrupt security men, says NSA. 2,400 illegal arms destroyed. Anti-terror war at advanced stage. Above the masthead, JAMB okays varsity admission for under 18 until next year. Federal government gets 846,000 doses of malaria vaccine rollout in Kemi, Bayelsa. Death toll in Jigawa tanker inferno rises to 166. Ex-President Jonathan blames judiciary for crisis in PDP. On the bottom strip, INEC fixes November the 8th, 2025 for Anambra governorship poll. NGE set for workshop. Next is Leadership Friday. Fiscal crisis is the key count. The headline reads, subsidy removal, Naira float saved Nigeria. World Bank, people are facing untold hardship, will risk being lynched. Bala Mohammed, federal government declares end to fuel, forex subsidies. And then above the nameplate, federal government receives 846,000 doses of malaria vaccine. Most arms in hands of terrorists are government-owned. Ribado. Death toll in Jigawa tanker explosion rises to 154. And at the bottom strip, Nigeria exits aviation blacklist as rating hits 75.5%. Daily News Hub is next. Hardship. Again, World Bank warns Tinubu against reversing reforms, says reversal will be detrimental, spell doom for Nigeria, as federal government declares end of fuel, FX subsidies. Finance Minister assures federal government will sustain reforms. Many weapons used by terrorists, bandits, originally belonged to government. NSA says some police officers, soldiers sell weapons to criminals. FARC shares 1.298 trillion naira to federal, states, local governments for September 2024. Rumored impeachment plot. Senate passes confidence vote in Akpabio. INEC announces date for Anambra governorship election. Meta cracks down on Yahoo boys. And then CNG powered vehicle explodes in Benin, scores injured. Presidential CNG initiative reacts. NSIB probes Jigawa tanker explosion as death toll rises to 157. Your reforms not working, Bauchi governor tells Tinubu, weak Naira has certain advantage, says CBN governor. Next is Platform Times newspaper. Hardship drives parents to public schools. Proprietors turn to transport. NAPS. I earn 14 million naira monthly as a senator. Oji Kalu. Federal government, states, local governments share 1.298 trillion naira revenue for September. On your dam, Lagos government advises Ogun River Bank residents to relocate. JAMB bows to pressure, extends 16-year admission age limit to 2025. Many weapons used by terrorists, bandits, originally belonged to government. Nuhu Ribado. And above the nameplate, Nigeria battles cholera outbreak, 14,237 cases, 378 deaths recorded, NCDC. Alleged 23 million naira extortion. Students burn provost residence in Kemi. NSI boss Nanda pushes for e-border renovation, declares zero tolerance for corruption. And then next is the Daily Times newspaper. At Business Forum in Sweden, Shetima woos investors to Nigeria's growing business climate, urges them to seize opportunities in nations, MSMEs, agriculture, digital economy, others. Ericsson to build $19 million tech hub in Nigeria. Sizable number of illicit arms originally belonged to the government, NSA, poses security personnel who facilitate movement of weapons to terrorists, bandits, other non-state actors. 1 million court judgments will not impose abure on Labour Party. That's NLC. You see that on page 14 on the bottom strip. And then flooding, relocate from river banks. Federal government warns Nigerians. You see that on page 15. How fake CNG-powered vehicle caused explosion at Benin. That's NIPCO. You see that on page 10. And then above the nameplate, FAAC, federal government, state, local governments share 1.29 trillion naira for September. Last but not least with me, here is New Telegraph newspaper. Service disruptions, more banks to embark on systems upgrade as lenders lose billions to hackers. CBN's bank recapitalization key to improving financial system. Ex-officers ask federal government to withdraw police from private homes. Claim land grabbers now use policemen. Lament abandonment, seeks PSC's intervention. Federal government warns of imminent flooding along rivers Benue and Niger. And then above the nameplate, how Nigeria can tackle poverty. World Bank advises CBN to sustain monetary tightening and then economy begging for direction, says LCCI. And at the bottom strip, regularly drinking alcohol after 60 linked to early death. That's according to study. Kemi.
Over now to First News. The lead story there reads, God will judge you. Governor Fubara blasts corrupt judges at legal year event, says God's punishment awaits those turning law upside down for paymasters. Nigerian businesses face 2,560 cyber attacks weekly. FG receives 1 million doses of R21 malaria vaccine from Gavi. Worst human beings, that's from the National Security Advisor Nuru Ribadu slamming the police and soldiers for selling arms to criminals. And another warning as River Benue reaches critical flooding levels, with the federal government urging immediate evacuation. This Nigeria is next. Lead story is captioned Flood Alert. Again, FG warns Nigerians to relocate from river banks. Plans 5 buffer dams to prevent overflowing from Lagdo Dam. Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mike Ozekome, unveils 50 iconic books as Jonathan, former president, that is, blames judiciary for crisis rocking party. Edo inaugurates Joint Transition Committee today. Banks lose 42.6 billion naira to fraud in the second quarter of the year, mobile money agents say. On Daily Independent, Nigeria records 14,237 cholera cases across 35 states, including the FCT, with 378 deaths also recorded. NCDC warns of cholera, Lassa fever surge, Marburg virus also cause for concern. Reversing FG's economic reforms will spell doom for Nigeria, says World Bank. Ahead of, still on the reported impeachment, Senate passes vote of confidence in Akpabio. INEC fixes November the 8th next year for Anambra global poll. On the Hope, Ayedatiwa bags Hero of Environment Award, pledges to make Ondo free of plastic pollution. Tinubu lauds governor's efforts. Nigeria to acquire additional 50 aircraft by 2026. But FG's weapons, according to Nuru Ribadu, used by terrorists and bandits. I didn't defame you, but Brisky replies Falano, false. And good news from the Yinka Ifele household as gospel singer and wife welcome new baby. Nature News is next. Lagos State plans to hold mega walk for nature road show. Governor Adeleke launches Osun State's 1 million tree planting campaign initiative as manufacturers' body decries proposed single-use plastic ban amid economic shifts. Finally is Sporting Life, the nation sporting. Osimhen trains again with Gala, could now return Saturday against Antalya-Spor. Inquiry into Super Eagles Libya travel fiasco as Kane Onyago lead CAF disciplinary panel. And ahead of the 10-man CAF Player of the Year award, Lukman Boniface Trusekong Osimhen likely to make list. Also, Olaino is Forest's top player. Ibraheem.
Interesting stuff. So many newspapers up for review this morning. I believe that our audience have been updated on some of the stories we've brought to them. But, you know, there's so many stories, really. But there's one of those stories, actually, maybe one or more, caught my attention. Of course, certain stories will definitely catch your attention. For instance, one of it is what we found on the Daily News Hub, where it has on the sidelines that the CNG-powered vehicle explodes in Warri. I mean, yes, explodes in Benin, scores injured. That's presidential CNG initiative also reacted. You know, we've been talking about, you know, so many Nigerians have been expressing their worries about the CNG bus, you know, the conversion kits and all of that. But the presidential CNG initiative reacting to this incident, if you look at the story, saying that a CNG-powered vehicle explosion at Nibiko filling station in Aduwawa, Benin State, Edo State, on Wednesday left 3 persons severely injured. So some of the questions we'll be asking is, what is the quality of this CNG cylinder that has been used? Is it the recommended one? Is it the one that is certified by the federal government, or the you know, the credible agency or the credible outlets, you know, converting some of these vehicles to CNG-powered vehicles? Are they using the original? Because I've also raised an opinion or raised concern about this issue, where who will be allowed to bring some of these materials in for conversion? Is it the federal government? Is it the certified, you know, companies and all of that? If they allow every Tom, Dick and Harry to go abroad and bring all of these things to Nigeria, certainly we know that we'll be dealing with fake, you know, products and all of that, because it's supposed to be bulletproof, and then it's also supposed to be very safe no matter the weather. Go to India. India is very, very hot. You know, there are some parts of India that's quite hot, but then they use CNG way more than we do here, and we don't get to hear about explosion. Kemi?
It's indeed a cause for concern, and that is not a narrow interpretation of what we are seeing here. And it's a horrendous account, at least from what I'm reading. A woman whose stomach was ripped open, another person whose foot was amputated due to the blast. They're all now receiving treatment at the University of Benin Teaching Hospital. But the federal government says it has carried out due investigation, revealing that the explosion was traced to a cylinder that had been fabricated by a welder without proper approval.
That's the thing.
And now he's been turned in, you know, to answer needed questions at the police station. And this is something that is still new. So if it is
We've
true...
not even gotten anywhere, and the people are already fabricating.
Yes, in fact, this is the best time, you know, for us, because we believe that, you know, the government is in control, and we expect that even after now, that it has gone past the first stages of people using the CNG option. Even after that, because we were told that even the CNG machinery would indeed be monitored, even as you use it, there's going to be like a track for all the people using this option. So it's unfortunate that, you know, this is the lot of the people who have chosen to use this. If it is true that the person in question didn't get the needed approval, then he would also have to, you know, dance to the tune, indeed.
And then they have to ensure that they bring the person to book.
Absolutely.
Whatever, maybe it's a company, maybe it's a cohort, maybe it's anything, they should ensure, because
how he
safety
was
of
able
life,
to bypass,
yes,
you know, all the approval
and then
stages.
they did the conversion and all of that. So safety is very, very key. So, you know, it's interesting stuff. If you check the Platform Times, as well as the Daily Times, you see, I think I read one, probably you read one too, where the Nuhu Ribadu, you know, Kurzi,
another sad
okay, Kurzi security personnel who facilitate movement of weapons to terrorists, bandits, other non-state actors, you know, talking about sizable number of illicit arms originally belonging to the government. You know, you find it in the hands of the criminals. So I love the idea of cursing them. Like, come on, these things are federal government property. How did they get into the hands of the terrorists, the insurgents, kidnappers, name it, some of those enemies of this country, and then using it against the people that are supposed to be protected. And this is actually flowing from the hands of, state actors to non-state actors' hands and the criminals. So how is it that we talk about patriotism? We talk about you swearing an oath to defend the integrity of this nation, to defend life and properties, to protect everyone, so that we will sleep with our two eyes closed and then we can travel wherever it is that we want to travel, according to our fundamental rights. But you're having some of those people breaching these laws, subjugating or subverting the integrity of this country. I don't know which word to use. It's so sad when we get to see all of these things, being reported in the daily newspapers, and then the security agencies are also talking, tough against this.
You are spot on, Ibrahim. This is not funny at all, and the earlier public service holders, understand the magnitude of the mandate given to them. You're a police officer, police well. You're a carpenter, make sure you do your job well. You're a teacher, teach well.
That's right.
The earlier we understand...
The way you're saying it, I can picture the lyric in my head.
You're an anchor well, because there is really nothing simple.
That's
Life is simple indeed, but the duty, the responsibility given to you is not easy, is not a simple one. You need to, man up really and understand that, this is a very, very serious mandate, especially in Nigeria, for the Nigeria we all want. For the better Nigeria we all seek.
That's right.
It's best we all speak to ourselves and face the man in the mirror, and ensure that you do something that you will be proud of in years to come, or if you are caught, or if God comes down now and says, all right, you will not be ashamed, or you will not go and hide somewhere and say, oh, I'm sorry. So, well, we hope that this will go a long way, but it also behoves on government to do the needful as well. Wherever these people are, fish them out, call them out, prosecute them, and, punish whoever needs to be punished.
That's right. Because of our time, well, let's just quickly take this on your dam, still on the front page of the Platform Times, right close to the bottom strip. Lagos government advises Ogun Riverbank residents to relocate. So we know this is a year in, year out thing. Okay. Yes, the
Oyo Dam, and then River Benue too. River Benue. There's also a warning,
especially those people who are building on the floodplains. We have the impact from the Lagdo Dam. We had one recently in Borno. The breakaway of the breaking of the dam, that destruction that happened, washing everywhere, destroying properties. Even the dead in the cemetery also felt the impact. Animals also were let out, and then, all of those experiences.
And the rains are still not over.
The rain is just starting out. Because of the forecast, the weather forecast shows that we'll be having much more torrential rains in some parts of the country. We see what impact we're getting from outside of the country. Also, look at the hurricane happening in US, for instance, and all of the destructions and all of that. It will take more than $30 billion to also, I think it's about $200 billion to also repair some of those countries, some of those states in the US. So it's really, really a whole thing. It's really, really something that is quite concerning, especially during the impact of food crises, and all of that, Kemi.
Indeed, it's not a good addition at all. Food crisis, you say, soaring food prices. Of course, farmers are, afraid to go to the farm. And now this, the little you have done, all washed away. It's something that we really hope that our government officials and residents concerned will take a cue and, be up and doing and make sure that all this unpalatable news about floods, where we have already gotten, notice, from the government that this is going to happen. We're in the time of the year where rains are supposed to be a welcome relief, and it is expedient that it remains so.
Absolutely. Safety first is very important, and then we think of, okay, how next do I also survive afterwards? Well, that's all we can say about the newspaper update.